So I had a board that had letters and oh, you're gonna get me emotional here. I had a board that had letters and for the first thing I said, obviously I apologized to my dad, and then when my mom got there.
Brennan Loney, you're one of the most impressive people that I know. Very grateful to have you joining so early on the Never Peak podcast. I think you have a message that a lot of people could learn from. So I want to get into it right away. Tell me about your childhood.
Yeah, absolutely. Really excited to be here. Can't wait to see what this podcast does. But early on, definitely was an athletic, couldn't hold me still type child. I have an older sister, 5 years older than me, so we didn't do a lot kind of growing up, and I was strictly into athletics. I mean, if there was a sport, I was playing it as a kid. Thankfully, I had a dad who was athletic. My mom's athletic. My sister's athletic. My dad played hockey at the University of Maine as a goalie, and so I kind of fell in line with hockey as my primary sport, we'll say. But got into golf, played baseball, played football, basically anything that I could, I picked up as a kid, and um, everything I remember was building my friendships around athletic teams. As you're spending so much time with them growing up, especially at the higher levels. You start playing each year with them all the way up until you're little kids where you can't tie your skates, all the way up to when you're 18. You're basically full grown adults in the world. You spend a lot of time together, so a lot of my friendships were poured out through athletics. My parents, getting along with them, I had a phenomenal support system as a kid. They allowed me to do whatever I wanted to pursue as long as I, put my effort and passion into it. Definitely helped shape me, and as we continue to talk about my story, into the person that I am today.
So are there any core memories you have from your childhood, like sports or just times with friends that you feel like sort of defines who you were at that point?
Yeah, I always wanted to be on the go. I didn't play video games. And then there's a rink about a half a mile from my house. So I would get home from school almost every day with the kids that lived around there. And I don't know if you ever remember back in the day when everyone was allowed to just walk around without cell phones. But, I'd grab my stick and I'd put right through the toques of my skates, grab my gloves, throw it on, and just walk up to the rink with my boots, and I remember doing that every day, it seemed like, and then I'd come back, or my dad would come up and up to the rink, and I remember there were times my feet were frozen so cold, and he would crack my toes after, and I'd almost be in tears, just all the time. It seemed like it was an everyday thing that I was up there playing hockey out there, and met a lot of friends. But I just remember those frigid days out in the rink, but having so much fun, to where like I couldn't feel my body. And I remember my parents would have to be like, "We have to go because it's getting dark and you have school tomorrow and you have other things going on." But I would say just living at the rink, and again, just those certain moments of just laughter and playing around with family and friends and everything like that. It seems like it's not just one core memory. It just seemed like it happened all the time throughout my youth.
Yeah, those are good times and times that I think anybody who grew up in Minnesota playing hockey has the on the go lifestyle in the winter from practice to just time and at the outdoor rinks and good times for sure.
It is definitely
Nice.
was.
So I know we have quite a few mutual friends too. We met through Tony DeMarais. You, funny enough, I believe went to college with my second cousin Tyler Anthony,
Huh.
and
Yeah. I didn't know you were related to Ty.
yeah, yep. We used to spend every Easter together, so it's funny to see kind of the connections and tell me like how would those guys have described you in the mid to early 2000s?
Oh boy. Well, I met Tyler, so I ended up playing hockey for Maple Grove. I played all 3 years of high school at varsity. I was fortunate enough to play Elite One between my junior and senior year, and at that time, it was one of the top programs for high schoolers. So I didn't want to go juniors. I just didn't understand the lifestyle of that, and I ended up kind of going to D3, which everyone knows in Minnesota we don't have D2 hockey. So I wasn't good enough to play D1, which is okay to me. So I wanted to play D3, and that's where I met Ty because he had mutual friends with a couple other people that I know from Buffalo in that area. I'd say that they would describe me as kind of the fun going person, always up for anything, extremely hardworking, nice guy, loves to have the auxiliary cord for parties. Definitely was the DJ a lot of the times, but always was someone that they could count on. I pride myself in that even today as someone that if, they were going to rely on me, they knew 100% I'd be there for them.
Nice. So you're playing college hockey at this point, uh, on track to kind of live the life of a lot of former college athletes. At this point, what's the hardest thing that you would say you had been through in your childhood, middle school, high school, at any point up until that 2009 year?
I Yeah, I mean, I guess everyone thinks that they're going through the hardest point of their life when they're going through it. You go through junior high, you go through high school, you get made fun of, going through growth spurts, and then you have your first breakup, and you think the world is ending because you were in love with this person. And as you continually progress, what's going on? When I was in college, I think my toughest thing was grades, probably keeping up with grades job. I was working a construction job that was pretty chaotic throughout the summers. And then after my sophomore year, we did really well for hockey. So we actually lost in the national championship for D3. We got flown out to Lake Placid, played in the Frozen Four. So at my point in my life, my sophomore year, I was kind of the highest I've ever been. Everything was going really well. School was going well. College was going well. Hockey was going really well. I hadn't played a whole lot because I was only a sophomore and our team was just loaded. I mean, up to that point, it was really just me trying to grow professionally, personally, relationship as a friend. I didn't have a whole lot of triumphs that I was, going through. It was probably just trying to be a better person, right? Be a better athlete, be as best as I can as a human. But nothing that was really at the time. I had some family members that were going through some stuff, and some aunts, uncles, and whatnot. But nothing that was really dragging me down, we'll say, as we progress into kind of that summer.
Yeah. So I'll let you dive into that in as much detail as you want to. Tell me about that summer and where you were at, and then July 11th, I think it was.
Yeah. So, like I said, I finished up college my sophomore year. Everything was great. I got a job as an intern for an insurance company, just to kind of get my feet wet in the real world, working for, a real company and not just doing like Noodles and Company or what I did in high school. So got a chance to go to the gym. I was still working out, still trying to get big for hockey. And funny thing is, I ran into Tony DeMarais at Lifetime, right? And it was on, I think, on a Friday, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing this weekend?" A couple of friends of ours are going up to a cabin. Do you want to go? And I was like, "Sure, yeah, why not?" We hadn't seen each other in a while, and so I thought this was a really good time to connect, get a chance to go back, have some fun. So that night, I drove to a cabin in Big Lake. I was the driver, picked up probably 4 or 5 people, went out there. I think there were, 7, 10 of us at the cabin, just having a good time. Minnesota summers are great. It's warm, music. Um, you know, we were sophomores in college, doing a little bit of drinking, having fun, just enjoying a nice summer night. And then late at night, typically what I do, I have a pool at my house. I've got a cabin. I was getting hot. I was like, this cabin's warm. I'm going swimming. I'm going to go jump in. That's all I want to do, cool off, come back in, and then I'll probably go to bed. So I was like, I'm going in. And Tony's like, are you really going to jump in the lake? I was like, yeah, I'm going to go in. So he's like, all right, I'll come down with you. I was like, okay. So I, got in my bathing suit, went down to the lake. As we start going down, Tony's like, I'm not going to go in. He's like, you're going in. I was like, yeah. So I threw my towel to Tony, ended up running down a dock, probably 30 some feet long. I remember passing the boat launch, passing another thing. And then as I dove in the water, split second later, boom, I immediately blacked out for a few seconds. And what I remember then was laying there, unable to move any part of my body. I was inhaling water through my nose. And I remember thinking, why am I not able to move my arms? Why am I not able to move my legs? Like, what is going on right now? I wasn't in like panic mode because I think I was in shock for a little bit, but I was continually inhaling water through my nose, not knowing, like, just trying to find air. And at that point, it was almost like getting kind of the warm fuzzies, which I believe is lack of oxygen to the brain, because it was almost like a euphoric feeling. Like I wasn't scared, I wasn't anything, but at the same time, I knew this was bad because there's water, there's no air coming to my brain. So as I'm laying there, unconscious, able to move, all of a sudden, Tony, I feel kind of being pulled up. So he flipped my body up to where I could get air. And so I remember taking a huge gasp of air as he flipped me over and he's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I can't move my body. I can't." And he's like, "Stop playing around, stop playing around." So then he tried to kind of carry me back. And after talking with him, he said that where I dove in, my body had floated to where pinweeds were probably 10, 15 yards away already at this point. He said, thankfully for the moon, that it was a full night, my body kind of shimmered off the water. And that's what he saw me. So he pulled me and tried to pull me up on the dock, and I fell one time and then tried to pull me up again. And once he got me in the dock, I was like, I can't move anything. And my neck was in so much pain. And so then he yelled up to grab everyone at the cabin, and everyone's like, "Stop playing. This isn't a funny joke." I was like, "I'm not joking at all." So we called 911. I ended up getting put in an ambulance, and then I was choppered to North Memorial. Um, Once I got to North Memorial, my dad was there. And I remember my mom and sister were at my cabin, which is 4 hours north. And my dad was there, and I was in tears just bawling my eyes out to my dad, and I was like, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And the reason why I apologize is I knew that this was horrific. This wasn't I'm not gonna get fixed from this one. This is something that's gonna be really tough. So I'm
Mhm.
looking up at him apologizing, and he's like, "Why are you apologizing?" And immediately they started putting tubes down my throat, put me in room, try to get me ready. They needed to operate pretty quickly. So that night, thankfully, we were able to do a fuse of my C0 vertebrae all the way to my C4 vertebrae because I just shattered it, completely shattered it. Um, Basically, was told that I'll be put on a ventilator, and this is most likely the rest of my life will be spent on a ventilator breathing for me. Um, so my parents basically were notified of all this. They went through the 6, 7 hour surgery that night. So then I woke up the next day and had tubes and a ventilator breathing for me. And basically from that point on, this was going to be my new life. I had a lot of friends. I had lines of friends that wanted to come see me. There were days that were really easy for me to come see friends, but I think the hardest thing is the non communication portion. I love talking to people. I love talking. I make it now or make it more profound now that I can because I was in that point where I had nothing. To see people come in over and over and over, and them in tears and me in tears, but not being able to say anything. is like them coming in and being like, "You look great." And I'm like, "Bullshit." Like, "No, I don't."
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
like watching them walk and leave and come back, and it got really hard. It got really tough. And it is tough. I mean, that's life, right? And so I went through that for the first 3 weeks I spent in the ICU, um, on the ventilator, unable to move anything. I could kind of flip my arm, like my wrist a little bit, and they said that was massive. I didn't really know what that meant at the time. But basically, we're trying to figure out how to navigate, how to move forward. Um, so from that point, I was doing some testing on my lungs, trying to see how strong internally I was to be able to get off the ventilator at some point after I healed a little bit. And thankfully, there's a hospital called Craig out in Colorado. They do a lot of Olympic athletes just for snowboarders, skiers that get hurt. So they came in, did some testing on my lungs, and saw that I was a phenomenal applicant for them, to be able to be flown out to Craig. So after 3.5 weeks of spending in the ICU at North Memorial, I was flown out to Colorado to work on getting off the ventilator because that was my priority, right? I
Mhm.
didn't want a machine to have to breathe for me. I wanted to be able to eat food again. I wanted to be able to talk because when you're on the vent, I had a feeding tube. I can't taste anything. I can't drink. I can't eat. Can't really talk. It's very murmured. So, like, I remember the first like 2 weeks, all I wanted was a Mountain Dew. I know that sounds just crazy because I didn't even really love pop that much, but it just like the taste of that sounded so good. And then I remember they let me like suck on ice chips after 2.5 weeks, and just like the little joys of things like that were crazy to me that I'm just like bringing back full circle talking about it now. But so I get out to Colorado and I work with some of their athletic trainers on the breathing side of things. And they're doing a new study where it's like, hey, we don't just want to incrementally try and get you off this. How would you feel about we like test the limits? And I was like, let's do it. So I actually was, I don't know for certain what it was, but I was one of the fastest to get off the ventilator that they've ever seen during this new trial thing. So, like, I think standard was 20 some days, and I ended up doing it in like 8. So I was
Wow.
super excited to be able to kick the ventilator off. But problem is, right as I got off the ventilator, I took a CT scan, and they found that my head was shrinking into my spine. So I had to do another immediate surgery where they put a halo in where they screw um, 4 screws into your head, a 1/4 inch. And by this point, I had already been pretty numb to pain meds, so they weren't allowed to give me anything. And I remember it being so painful, just like hearing someone twist a screw with a screwdriver into your head, a 1/4 inch, and to do it 4 times was awful. So I had to sit with a halo on for 3 weeks until I went through my second surgery, and that basically fused everything up. So my limitation in my neck is very limited now, just because of the second surgery that I went through. But at that point, I was just pumped to be able to not have the vent in me. Talked. I had some friends that flew out, got to see me. Really learned a lot about life out there, kind of what my future was going to be like. Care. Everything about me is going to be completely different to being that athletic person that I was. So there's still a lot of learning with everything that I do now, but that was pretty much the injury, and thankfully my arms have gotten some strength back during that time, so now I'm able to drive a power chair, just with the use of my arms. I don't have my hands, like you can see. I don't have my fingers, but I use my
Mhm.
hands, and I started typing papers for college with the outside of my pinky before voice to text became a thing. So thank you, technology. And a lot of things on the technology side have been great, but that's in a nutshell how my life got turned upside down pretty quickly over one summer. I went to I got injured on the 11th of July, and I made it home from Craig a few days before Thanksgiving. So I was in the hospital from July to pretty much end of November, living there, doing whatnot through it all. So I was able to come home, still getting a little bit stronger, started doing some rehab at the facilities that we have in Minnesota. And then I got back into school. Thankfully, my college was amazing. Shout out to Gustavus. They were able to work around some classes. I took some credits online, but I was driving down to Gustavus 3 days a week to be able to fulfill my degree from Gustavus. So I ended up graduating, I think, only a year and a half after my normal class. So I have my degree from Gustavus. And then once I got my degree, kind of was like, okay, I'm bored now after 3 months. So I ended up getting a full time job, and I've been kind of in the real world working 40 hours a week as a sales rep. I'm at my second company now. I've been here for coming up on 9 years. Um, doing the 40 hours a week, grinding just like everyone else. And, feel like I'm pretty happy with where I'm at currently.
Yeah, that's I think the second time that I've heard your full story, and uh I mean, first thing is like it's heartbreaking because how many of us have gone through that same night, sophomore year of college, living in Minnesota? You're going to go to a cabin at some point in the summer, and you're maybe going to have a couple drinks, and you're probably going to run and jump into the lake. And seeing, just knowing you as a person now before hearing your full story, it's so impressive how you hold yourself. So I just want to say I really appreciate your openness to share your story, because it does, I think, help anybody who knows you realize how much you can push through. You can go through such a difficult thing and still come out the other side. Um, about 5.5 months in the hospital.
Hmm.
Uh, you mentioned like one of the harder parts was to not be able to talk. How long was it that you were unable to talk or communicate?
For the first probably 5 weeks.
Oh my
So I had
gosh.
a board that had letters, and oh, you're gonna get me emotional here. I had a
Yeah.
board that had letters, and for the first thing I said, obviously, I apologized to my dad, and then when my mom got there, I remember telling her that I was sorry. And then anytime I needed like my head scratched, there was a quick button that basically they just made on the board. They're like head scratch, so I just moved over there and clicked with my mouth. Uh, those ones were tough,
Mhm.
but once we got past the board and kind of the biggest thing was scratching my head or clearing my throat or wiping my face because I needed it all the time, but I had to click my mouth when I needed something. So finding those on the board, once we got that down, we can joke about it now, but those are tough times. And I'd say during the times of the hospitals that were tough, it's just frustrating. You can't move, can't do any. Even now today, like when I sleep, I don't have a lot of movement. I can move my arms when I'm up, but when I lay in bed, I don't have gravity. Like I don't have triceps. So like I just lay there. There's some nights where if I have like some insomnia night, like I'll just lay in bed for 8, 9 hours and I can't move. I can't do anything about it. Even today with my voice, I have voice activated TV. I can turn my TV on, which is
Mhm.
again awesome to technology. But um, like those early days were so hard because I just didn't know where I was. I didn't know who I could be. I was 20 years old. Like I said, I didn't have any of this tough life or tough things going on, and to get thrown right into that, and we can mix in today and how like, I try to view the world as positive as I can, um, because I've been on the other side. Like, I've been to the days, like, there were days in the hospital where I was like, "I don't wanna do anything today." And I didn't, and I laid there, and I was like, "I don't wanna see anyone today." And I didn't, and I laid there. And what I realized was, like, the next day, if I felt that way again and I didn't wanna do anything and I didn't see anyone, like, nothing's happening, nothing's changing. It's me choosing to do that, right? If you don't wanna have those days, that's fine. People are gonna have those days where they don't wanna see anyone, they don't wanna do anything. It's when you start seeing those collectively start to add up, like, you're pushing people out, you're pushing people away that wanna be there for you. You're choosing to not do anything, and you're not gaining anything. You know the outcome. If you choose not to do anything, and if you choose to lay in bed all day, you know what the outcome's gonna be, right? Like, you
Mhm.
know you're not getting better. You know you're not gonna have any positive situations from that. So what I learned when I was having some of those days where I was like, "I don't wanna do anything. I just wanna be here, and I just wanna, lay in bed, do nothing." Like, I knew the next day I didn't have anything to look forward to because I didn't give anything a try. I didn't say, "Let's go look at the sun today. Let's go feel the warmth of the sun in Colorado. Let's go watch, a sporting event. Let's go listen to someone talk about something. Let's turn on some music. Let's remember what some of these songs were like when I was growing up or when I had these memories." Like, nothing changes in your mindset when you choose to do nothing about something. And what I've learned is even giving, like, there are days where I feel like absolute garbage because I'm sick or I'm dealing with my catheter or I have something going on and I've been invited to go do something and I'm like, the last thing that I probably want to do is go do this. But if it's for a friend or it's for something, I'm like, I'm going to do this because I know if I don't go, it's not the fear of missing out, it's the fear of, like, so many experiences that I could be giving them, they could be giving me. What if? What if? It's like trying to take that with everything that I do now with the limitations I have in life has given me what I think a pretty good life in the situation that I have. And so that, again, as we go through messages, it's like, go do the stuff that you wanna do. Take chances, go out, and I'm not a big risk taker. I know I'm not a risk taker. I do still think I could skydive, but that's a whole 'nother story. It's a whole 'nother story. I hate heights, but I would love to do that.
Nice.
But my big thing is, like, you know the answer of what's gonna happen when you say no, right? Like, what's the
Mhm.
harm in saying yes? Yeah, there could be some consequences for it, but you never know what that may be. You're canceling out all of the good potential.
Mhm. That's a really good message for anybody, and there's you've mentioned this before on your podcast, and I think to me in person, like, everybody's going through something, and so just remembering, keeping that in mind, what message would you give them? Like, you've been through one of the most difficult things that a person can go through. What helped you? Like, was it a person or was it something, some thought or memory? What was it that helped you in those 5.5 months?
I'd say that, I was blessed with a phenomenal support system. Parents, grandparents, family, extended family, friends. I think that my parents obviously shaped me for the person that I am today. And with that, it helped shape me in becoming friends to my friends. So having a knit, like, I was blown away at the support that I had when I was first injured, when I came back to college, came back to the first hockey game that I went to. Like, the entire crowd at Gustavus was in blackout. Everyone had yellow bandanas on. The amount of support that I got that I didn't know about. Maybe I met some people in classes that I had got along with and had fun with, and you don't know the impact you have on someone. Maybe it's 5 minutes of meeting them. That's why I always try and say, like, be polite, be happy, especially with your friends, but to other people, because you have no idea what the impact's going to be, right? I would say having the support. So I've gotten so far down the road of being injured in my mentality of support. It's like when I have a bad day, I know the ripple effect that that's going to have, right? It's not just me having a bad day. It's the people that take care of me are going to have a bad day. And then that may lead into them having a bad day. Like I'm thinking of this at levels, right? So if I'm gonna have a good day, I try and preach that to the people that I'm around. Maybe who if I try and pick up someone that seems down, like maybe they're gonna end up having changed the shift in their mind, and that it just goes to levels of what is it, 5 degrees of separation or 3 degrees of separation, whatever it may be. Like it's silly for me to think that my positive impact could like have this huge shift in things, but why not, right? If I can touch one person or make someone think about something differently or choose happiness over sadness one day, who knows what that end result could be for them or for the people that are around them. And so it's taken me a long time to kind of realize that. But as I was first injured, I think that started really small as a ripple effect. um, I don't wanna let people down. That I'm a woo type of person. If you go into the, whatever it's called about characteristics, winning others over, I love that. I love to be, you know, that person that wants to succeed. I'm extremely competitive, probably one of the more competitive people that, anyone's ever met, and so for me to wanna do good things and wanna be better and wanted to do that, like, that's my mission. I want to be that positive outlook for people. And I know I'm going to have bad days. Like everyone has bad days, like you said. And when you talk about things and how it happens to you, I go back to when I was 20 and if there was traffic that wasn't supposed to be there or on your phone, you're punching your steering wheel. You're saying, "Why is this here? I need to go. I'm having the worst day ever." Maybe I missed a goal or I missed something that was wide open. Coach yelled at me. I made a terrible play. And then another thing happens, you spill some food on your lap. You're like, could this day get any worse? Like it gets to levels of it, right? So yes, you know
Mhm.
that your day could get worse, and there are people that have things that are a lot worse than you. I have people that I know that I met in my situation that have it way worse than I do, just like this. I was in a situation that was way worse than what I have right now. So even when I have really hard days like this, I can go back to that time where I was clicking my mouth, talking to my parents about scratching my head and wondering what food was going to taste like again if I'd ever eat it or drink anything. And so for me, coming back to just seeing the milestones that I've made, and for me, it's a lot easier because I can go back to, specific events. And maybe some people can go back to specific times when they couldn't do something, or if you set a goal and you start on that goal, right? If you're going to bench 300 pounds, you don't just start with 300, you start with maybe 50, right? And then you get up to 225, you get to 275, and you're like, gosh, I'm a failure. And then you look back and you're like, man, you remember when I couldn't put up 50 pounds? And you're like, this is where, you feel that kind of euphoric then think like, damn, I have made pretty good progress. And so
Yeah.
that's another thing that I like to do a lot is it's comparison, but it's comparison to the older me. I'm not comparing myself to anybody else. I'm comparing myself to who I was and who I knew that I was and what I was capable of.
You've already achieved things you said would make you happy, right?
Oh,
Like
I would have gone bananas for the stuff that I have right now when I was in that situation.
exactly.
Do I want a lot more? Yeah, of course I want a lot more. Do I wanna be able to use my hands before I walk? People are like, You're gonna be able to walk, they're gonna cure walk." It's like, I could care less about walking if I could get these damn fingers to work again and my hands to work again and my arms to work again.
Mhm.
Like, there are
Yeah.
things that, step by step that I would love to be able to get better, but I am thrilled at what I have currently compared to where I was.
That's awesome. Do you stay up to date on the technology that's becoming available?
I try to. I've never been one to get super hyped about it because I've been in groups and whatnot where people say the cure is 5 years away. We're only 5 years away and people will be walking. They have heard that 20 years prior to when I was injured. So there's a lot, and I get like, oh, we're on the cusp of it. We got Neuralink, we've got a lot of things going on, and it's like I I'm open to it, and I'm like, heck yeah, let's do it. But I'm not gonna get excited until I start seeing like actual concrete, you know what I mean, like things
Yeah.
there.
Oh, yeah.
It's great. I love it. Let's do all the research we can. Let's bring it forward. But I'm not gonna be one to be like, I'm gonna put my life aside and I'm going straight to the cure.
I think that's the right way to go about it. I mean, there's some crazy things out there for sure, but uh, it's like there's always something that somebody's talking about that doesn't exist yet, and they say it's closer than it actually is. So
We keep it cautiously optimistic. We'll go with that.
that's great. That's exactly right, and I think that's how I like to be too. What's been the most surprising part of the journey for you the last 16 years?
I think the lack of knowledge, right? There's such a disconnect between, we'll say, the regular world, the able-bodied versus the disabled. Uh, just in the levels of it. I mean, we can talk about parking spaces for one. It's just kind of funny to see the world and who gets them, how they get them, when they use them. But I don't know. It's like I want people to know more about my life, but then you have to, dive into some of the nitty-gritty of it, right? Like you have to really get into certain things to have people fully understand what it's like. I remember wanting to, when I first got injured, like my big thing was like, I'm going to make it, I'm going to be successful, and I'm going to do it without leveraging my injury, right? Like I wanted to do everything I could, and I did. I graduated, I got a job. I finished first on my sales floor out of 100 people for percentage to quota one year. Um, versus obviously everyone able bodied being there, whatnot. And as I am getting older, it's like I'm not necessarily leveraging my injury, and that's why I wanted to start my own podcast. I want to talk about my own life. I want to start sharing because I think it would help for people understood, and not in a sympathy way, but just an eye-opening way. And maybe it helps shape, your life. Because had I known what my life would have been, when I was 19, 20, obviously I would have looked at things a little bit differently. So it's kind of a long-winded answer, but there's still such a disconnect between what is needed for me and just in my situation as a quadriplegic and what the world sees of me as someone in a wheelchair.
Tell me about living life and Tony DeMarais and that whole adventure you guys had.
Oh gosh. So we when I was first injured too and I was going back to school, Tony is one of my best friends and pulled me out of the water. And we've probably been longest friends since I've been back in Minnesota in second grade. But we wanted to start a clothing line like right away. No idea what we were doing. We didn't go to school for business or anything yet. So we're like, we're going to start this clothing line called Living Life. And we did a Kickstarter and we tried to raise it for like 35 grand in 30 days. And I think it came close, got to like 25, 30 grand. And we didn't get it. So if you're not familiar with Kickstarter, it's like if you don't get to your actual number, then it basically just disintegrates and nothing happens. So all these people that pledged and all this stuff, so they ended up not getting anything because we didn't hit. And we're like, oh, this is a failure. Like we suck. We're done. And like going back looking at it, raising 30 grand and like 25 days was amazing. And we just didn't know what we were doing. We had no plans. We thought we did. We came up with some designs. So kind of put that one on the back burner for the old clothing line. We still have some clothes here and there. Maybe shout out Tony DeMarais if you want something. I don't know if he still has it, but they were, we didn't know what we were doing. Screen presses, trying to talk to people and trying to figure out take over the world as 20-year-olds. The one thing that I wish I had was technology. I'm 37 now and then way outdated. But had they had like a TikTok, we could have been dominating the world on some of the adventures we had. I've taken trips being paralyzed, stateside, but one of them with Tony, we went to London together for
Yeah.
7 days, and that was a really, really fun trip. Super wild. Having a camera there would have been really fun. I think the world would have enjoyed it as well. Um, but no, we tried doing that, and what I've done over the last couple years is opened up my own podcast. So it's Living Life with Brendan, couple underscores. If you just search that on Instagram, and TikTok, and my name and Facebook comes up. But I just talk about my life, people that have been, influential with me and my injury for the first season. I'm doing podcasts again too with guests that have gone through hardships, and it's been very therapeutic for me. Getting a chance to talk about my life. I do enjoy it. I'm pretty open with most things, as you can tell. But that's kind of where living life kind of came from, the whole ring.
Yeah. I love it. And I know Tony has a tattoo.
I also have a tattoo. He
Yep.
got
Is that on
a
your leg too?
logo. No, I got it. All my tattoos are up in my arm. I got my long sleeve on, but I got live life right across my kind of wrist, and a nice cursive on there. It's a good memento for me to, and it's also something that I share with Tony. We did live life together. He got the logo, I did the words, just fit on our wrist. It's a good life motto for us as well. I know that he really appreciates it. Obviously, his side being a little bit different than mine, but I wouldn't be here without him. So,
Yeah. That's an amazing relationship you guys have. And tell us more about life right now. What does life now look for you after 16 years?
yeah, life's a little bit different. I am still, care is very difficult. PCAs, personal care attendants. It's hard with pay, with everything. So, unfortunately, or fortunately enough, I've got a very strange relationship with my parents because they're awesome. So we live together in our house. We remodeled our house after my injury in Maple Grove. So we all live in the same house. I'm kind of in my own area. They do a lot of the caretaking for me. I have PCAs that help me with my nighttime with driving and certain things there, but we are one house as of now, trying to get that changed still to be independent. Because there was a time where I had full care and they were able to live their lives, and that's all I want for them is to live the best life that they can and not have to worry about me. But obviously, life has curveballs sometimes, and I'm just thankful they're there. So that's on the care side of things. I'm working full time, 40 hours a week, for my company, still Proto Labs. Been here coming up on 9 years in sales. Love sales, love talking. Dream job would be kind of like what I guess, a mix of Joe Rogan and Pat McAfee, talk about life, sports, with friends. And um, I would love to be able to kind of continue talking about my story as much as I can and positivity. But other than that, I'm hanging with friends, getting older. It's kind of crazy. Like I mentioned about a year and a half ago, it really started to hit me with all my friends having kids, and getting a chance to be a part of. I love kids. I love little kids. Look at me and I'm like the coolest thing in the world. I go driving by and they'll be in a full sprint at a store and they'll like drop whatever's in their hands, jaws to the ground, as I just come wheeling right by. Just like, where do we find that and how do I get that? But they just ask questions, man. They come from a just like a non-malicious stance at all. They're just, why are you in that? Why'd you do that? Well, why'd you do that? Well, that's pretty cool. And they just think about it. Like I've had friends with little kids that saw me, and I think it was Mike and Lizzie Minahan's kid was like, he saw me, and then later that night, he's like, I'm gonna pray for Brendan and his cool chair and blah blah blah. And I remember thinking like, that's so cool that I have such an impact on like kids these days. And the conversations are really fun for me because no one's hiding anything. No one's trying to watch what they say. It's just pure honesty out of kids. But
Kids are the
looking back,
best in that way. Yeah.
it is, right? And so, even with that though, it's hard to see everyone with their life is kind of progressing, continuing in the way that I thought mine would be. When I was 20, like obviously I had a dream of having getting married, having kids, and living that life and doing that. And I'm very comfortable with where I am and accepting of where I am. Obviously, would love to find a relationship, get married. I don't know if kids are in the picture. I'm already pretty old in that stance, but I've got my nephews that I've been a part of, thankfully, and have watched them growing up and are still really close with them. So on that side of things, I feel very comfortable. But yeah, that's what I mean by it's been tough. Is I thought my life, would be one way or another, and getting to see all my friends succeed in the way that they are, and having kids and raising families. I couldn't be more proud for them, but at the same time, those are things where I'm like, yeah, that could have been my life too. So it's flipped in a sense where I'm definitely more excited than I am sad about it, but that's still always there as I see families grow and people grow, and their time with being able to hang out with me gets less and less. So there's also that aspect of it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a really good point, and I can imagine the difficulty there. Um, when you're around your nephews and nieces and Tony's kids, whoever else it would be, right? Like, do you feel in some ways like you need to be, how do I say this? Who do you want to be for those people that you spend your time with?
I want to be the person that they look to for anything, right? Like, I know that kids look at me and immediately have 1,000 questions. And I want to be the one that answers all their questions. I want to be the one that they think, like, well, he's in a chair or this, and actually have acceptance of it and knowledge of it. Because I didn't know anyone before I was injured that was in a power wheelchair. Like, there's just not that many out there. But there are consequences to things that do happen in the world and injuries that do happen. And so I guess I want to be kind of the light. I know that sounds strange, but I want to be that positive person. I want to be that one that when someone's like, "Hey, I'm having a tough day. I don't think I can do this anymore." I want Brendan to be in the back of their mind and them to be like, "Well, if he can, if he can do what he's doing, why the hell am I not able to do what I'm doing?" That would be the ideal goal, is to be that more in people's mind for having them say certain things and push themselves to be a better person that they can, knowing that they can, just because of maybe meeting me or hearing me or whatnot.
That's awesome. I mean, in a lot of ways, you mentioned how the little kids look at you in your chair like you're like a superhero to them, right? It's
Little
like an
do they
Iron Man
know.
story.
Little do they know I can't move anything. I get jealous when I see babies take their first steps because
Mhm.
I may never take steps again. And
Yeah.
at the same point, they look at me and they're like, I want that. I want that. And you're like, yeah, you don't, but I get what you're saying. Like, yeah, the chair's sweet. Like, yeah, and I let kids sometimes I'll let them drive as long as they're not going to take control and like drive my chair off the road or into a pool or something. But they have fun with it, man. They kids love it, and I love that about it. So
Yeah. Well, that's great. I would say your superpower though, Loney, is your attitude, right? Like you've got a better attitude than anybody I know, and from the time I've met you, you've never let your injury define you. So I think that's really, really impressive.
thank
I
you.
I want to get your reaction to a quote I saw recently. Um, start reading it here. I believe that no matter what you've been through, there is purpose and hope for your life. That you can be an exceptional human being despite your circumstances. So, those are the words you wrote when launching your podcast in 2024 in the About Us section. How does it feel hearing those words today after a couple years of writing that?
I stand by it 100% that I did 2 years ago. I think that everybody goes through things, right? Like, there's a lot that people won't want to share and can't share. I think that for those people, maybe just getting up in the day, uh, getting out, doing certain things, starting small. I think that the impact that people have, the biggest thing again is you don't know the impact that you have on someone. Like you won't know unless someone came up to you and said, "Hey, I watched you work out. I watched you do this. I listened to the words you said one day, and this is what it did to me." We don't hear that enough. So maybe people that are affected by something need to start saying it more and saying, "Hey, I saw this and this helped me out a lot. Thanks." Like there are certain things that would be nice. It'd be nice to hear if people, you know, took to action or you took to something, right? Like everybody loves compliments on things that they do. But for the most part, I'm gonna just imagine that people will hear this and it's gonna do what it's gonna do and hope for the positives of it and do its best and change people's lives and whatever it may do. But if I don't hear back from anybody, in my mind, I'm doing the best that I can. I think that I can have big impacts on people just with my situation and the life that I live. And again, if I heard this as a 20-year-old before I was injured and shaped my life, or if it became something different, obviously, it would be crazy, right? Like being able to hear it. But um, I think people have so much power if people just understood and accepted and listened and learned. You know, that's the big thing too. You got to be accepting of other things and hearing things and make that change, but you also have to want to as well. So for me, like I said, I found out early that when I did nothing, nothing changed. And for some people, that may take longer than, it took me. But, I'm here to tell you when you start living on the other side of wanting to do better, wanting to see positives, you end up seeing those, right? Like there are things that I, and we talked about this on one of my podcasts with my most recent guest. She said they're called glimmers, she read about, where it's almost like a euphoric sense of, and I got this, my sister built a cabin a year and a half ago. I was out at their cabin, it was a sunset. We're like sitting there, gorgeous weather, my family, music. And I remember just like looking at this and being like, nothing could beat this moment right now. Like this moment is unbelievable. And people have those. And I know it's trying to search for more of those, that moment when you're like the happiest that you could be. And I think the only time you get to those points are when you're searching for them.
And you can't be looking down at your phone. That's how you miss those moments, right?
Oh man, I'm on my phone too much, but yes, we need to stay off our phones.
There's nothing worse than picking your head up out of a screen and realizing that you missed a moment that you
Oh,
were meant to
right.
enjoy. Mhm.
Exactly. Yeah, that's tough. I mean, they're obviously successful for a reason. They're not just they're not dumb people over there on how they're getting everyone hooked on certain things.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I like that. The glimmers. I got a few closing questions for you before we jump to those, though. Tell me what's next for you. How can people find you online, and if they follow you, what can they expect?
Yeah, you can search my name, Brendan Loney. For Facebook, I think I have it, and then my Instagram, I think, is BR Loney, but I also have Living Life with Brendan, which is where I'm trying to transition most of my stuff to. Again, my BR Loney is, or my Living Life with Brendan is all about being a quadriplegic. Guess how I live my life behind the scenes of my van. One thing that I'm doing now is each week I'm listing 10 things, my list of roll down, 10 things that help me roll down to my happy place as a quadriplegic. So check those out each week. I did start a TikTok. I think I call it the roll down. Um, I'm very new to TikTok. Like I said, I'm old. But you can find me there. You can reach out if you want my personal stuff. Just reach out for it via my socials. I'm more than happy. I'm always kind of trying to interact with people, do speaking stuff, travel, whatnot. But no, I'm spending some time in Arizona right now. If you can tell, I think I got a little sunburn going on. It's so nice here compared to Minnesota.
Uh,
Because I hate the cold. I don't get good blood flow because I'm not walking around or anything as a quadriplegic. So I would say that that's where you can reach me. That's what I'm living. I'm still working right now. Thankfully, my work allows me to work remote a little bit here, so that's what I'll be doing here in the near future.
Yeah, Loney's a great follow, and I love the roll downs too. Those have been great so far. So looking
I have
forward to
fun with
more.
them. I'm trying to do more. The hard thing to let's get this, I'm 37. I'm living with 60-year-olds. Technology is difficult, and it's hard for me to set. I can't set certain things out myself. So, like, if I could do the roll down, I'd do it probably every other day. But to be realistic, I give myself 10 a week, and I'm going to stick to that until I can start doing a little bit more. Be lenient
Consist
with me, fans. Be lenient with me.
Consistency is different for everybody, right? And I think one a week
Exactly.
is a good goal. That's usually what I try to do with some of these things too, the podcast or social posts or whatever it is. So, you alluded to maybe your answer for this earlier, but what's one thing you want to do before you die?
Oh, I want to get to Ireland. That is my numero uno that I would like to do. I am extremely Irish. I want to say like 70%. My grandparents, a couple of them are 100%. So I want to get to Ireland. I want to have some Guinness from Ireland. I want to drink the Irish beer and I want to sing in a little just bar and pub they have there. I want to sing some native Irish tunes that I don't know yet, and just have a night of it. And if I can get that done, I would die a happy person.
That's great. I There's not much that beats those clips you see of the Irish people singing some old folk tune. Everybody's got a beer in their hand. Yeah, those are great clips.
Yes. Put me in one of those and I'll be good to go.
Nice. Tell me more about the skydiving thing quick. You mentioned that earlier.
But it was something that I wanted to do like 5, 10 years ago. Almost got it lined up. And now one of the guys that records my videos is like a professional skydiver. So we talk about it all the time. But I don't know if I'd actually do it now. But it was always something that was right on the back of my mind. Like, I should probably just do this while I can still while I'm living. So it's still one
Hmm.
of those things where it's like, oh gosh, if the right people wanted to go and I was, like forced into it or whatnot, I still think I may, but it's tough. Would you go?
I would go. Yeah.
Oh boy.
If you line that up, let me know. I
All
would
right.
go with you.
All right. Well, it'd be sooner than later, so you may eat those words.
You keep me posted, Loney.
All
Yeah,
right.
you can count me in.
I
Um,
will.
Great. If you were in a room with everyone who ever existed, dead or alive, who would you talk to first, and what would you ask them about?
Oh boy, this one's gonna cause ruffles and riffles, but I wow, I've never I know that you asked this, I think, to someone else, and I think I saw it,
Hmm.
but I would like to I know it's gonna come off crazy, but I tend not to rely too much on my spirituality. I am a religious person. It'd be very interesting for me to ask Jesus if the life that I've lived so far is one that seems and deems to be acceptable in the eyes of the Lord.
Love it. I don't know if there's a greater question or a greater person to ask it to. As a religious person myself, that's great.
Or are they proud of the person that I am?
Yeah.
Because that's what I try to be for my parents, right? And my friends. I want to be that person, but obviously going a step up from them if the possibility ever arose to.
Hmm. That's Yeah, hard to beat that one. Last question then. What's one truth you've learned the hard way that you want to leave people with today?
Um, I was probably the most impatient person in the world as a 20-year-old, and everything takes time and patience is needed in a lot of things, especially nowadays when there's, like you said, your phone, like you see, we get news, we get information, and everybody wants to jump to something right away. I would say take the time, fully understand things before you lash out or have an opinion on certain things, because you may not be hearing the full story. But I would say with my injury, everything is moves slow. I have to have plans for drivers. I have to plan for this. I Nothing can come out of spontaneity. So I would say, patience is tough, but it's necessary for a lot of things, and try and understand things to the full ability before, making your assessment on how you want to proceed with whatever you do.
Very relevant for today's world as well. We get news instantly in our pockets, and sometimes that news is not accurate. So it's good to
Uh,
have patience and be patient with your friends and family too, who might.
exactly. We're all getting older. We need a little more time to do things and accept things.
Yes, we do. That's for sure. Well, Loney, really, really appreciate you joining this early on and taking the time to spend with us. I hope you enjoy the rest of your trip in Arizona. Definitely jealous looking out at the, gosh, I don't even know what it is, 20 below weather or something here in Minnesota, and hoping we can get to Arizona or Florida at some point. So thanks for being here.
Of course, I appreciate it. Hope this helps, and I had a blast being on here today.
Awesome. We'll have you on again soon.
All right, thanks, man.